loved one experiences domestic abuse, call the hotline at 1-800-799-7233.
80% of 16 to 8-year-old sexual assault victims develop a mental illness after.
30% of raped females are between ages 11 and 17 years old. 37% are between 18 and 24. 12% are under 10 years old. Rise up.
There are over 700,000 rape cases in the United States every year. That's somebody's mother, somebody's sister, somebody's daughter, somebody's aunt. Rise up and respect our women.
Welcome to Rise Up 2021. Every February, Sierra College joins the international movement 1 Billion Rising to demand an end to sexual assault and gender-based violence. Today, we rise as a community. We rise to educate, we rise to give support, and we rise to get support. This year, we're doing things a little bit differently. We have our scholar athletes and one of our coaches providing facts. We have our Title IX team here to talk about resources. We have Professor Stephanie Code defining consent. And we have a special guest, author and WNBA superstar Ruthie Bowden. She'll be joining us live to talk about her work and activism. Please note, you can send us questions for Ruthie through the Q&A at the bottom of the Zoom, and resource links will be posted in the chat for the run of this event.
Welcome to Rise Up. My name is Latoya Jackson Lainez. My pronouns are she, her, hers, ella, and I am the Director of Diversity, EEO, and Title IX for the district, also known as the Title IX Coordinator.
Hello, I'm Cinda Alfred. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm the Interim Deputy Title IX Coordinator.
Hello, I'm Natalie Sherrill, and I'm the lead Title IX Campus Advocate and Counselor, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. Rise Up includes sensitive content. If you are concerned about exposure to this content, please feel free to practice self-care and take a break or leave the presentation or turn off your video. If you would like to reach a confidential Title IX Campus Advocate and Counselor for any confidential questions or to process the information you're seeing today, please feel free to find our Zoom information in the Rise Up chat. To protect your confidentiality, please don't post anything in the chat that would be identifiable. But we're here for you and ready to meet with you one-on-one to help you through this process. The Title IX Coordinator, the Title IX Deputy, and the Title IX Campus Advocates make up the Title IX team. When a report is made, a member of the Title IX team will connect with the student to offer supportive measures or continued access to education programs and activities, offer assistance from on and off campus resources, provide information about reporting options and the complaint process. If you are in imminent danger, please contact 911. And next, Cinda will be talking with you about what Title IX is.
Title IX is a federal law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex or gender in any federally funded educational program or activity, and it protects all students from sex-based discrimination, regardless of their real or perceived sex, gender identity, or gender expression. Sexual harassment, discrimination, and sexual violence can take many forms. Any form of interpersonal violence or intimate partner violence or non-consensual sexual activity is a potential violation of Title IX or other district policies, And Professor Stephanie Codet will be joining the event later to talk with you about consent.
As Natalie mentioned, you can contact any of us, myself as a Title IX coordinator, the Deputy Title IX coordinator, or a campus advocate to be able to get additional information. You'll see our contact information on the screen, and remember that we're here to support you at every step of the way. You can also find additional information on our new Title IX website. That link is also on the screen. Our new amazing Title IX website can provide you information about supportive resources, all of our contact information, and additional information surrounding Title IX. As far as the next steps go, if you have been impacted or know somebody who's been impacted by a Title IX incident, you can contact in real time one of our campus advocates by clicking on the link in the chat, or you can contact myself or Cinda Alfred or one of the campus advocates for on-campus support and resources. You can also contact Stand Up Placer for off-campus support and resources. And for faculty and staff questions surrounding how to support a student or how to report a Title IX incident, please contact the Title IX team. We thank you for your time, for inviting us into this space, and for giving us the opportunity and the platform to discuss how to empower the nine. Thank you for your time.
People with a household income of $7,500 or less are twice as likely than the general population to be survivors of sexual assault.
Male college students ages 18 to 24 are 78% more likely than non-students to experience rape or sexual assault.
If this is abuse, visit loveisrespect.org and rise up.
If you're talking to your daughters about safety, you should talk to your sons about consent.
Well, hey there, Sierra College. Welcome to Rise Up 2021 and yet another Zoom meeting during this global pandemic. My name is Stephanie Codet, and I have the opportunity today to talk to you about sexual consent. So first and foremost, there is going to be some sensitive content and material throughout this presentation, so please take care of yourselves. If you need, check in with one of our counselors during or after the presentation. We're here for your support. So I teach human sexuality at the college, and in doing so, when we get to the topic of consent, I have all my students who really recognize and understand how important consent is in experiences and relationships. Yet when we start talking about the topic specifically, I often find that there's many misconceptions about what makes up sexual consent. So you've already heard from our Title IX folks on campus, and we recognize that that sexual consent is truly a legal right. In addition, it's a human right and it's a sexual right. And I also want us to recognize how really sexy consent is. When we get sexual consent in a relationship or during a sexual encounter, it communicates how much you respect and care for your partner. It not only communicates that you're there to sort of take care of your own pleasure, but it communicates that you are interested in the pleasure of your partner, as well as their boundaries in terms of what they are comfortable doing and not comfortable doing. It communicates that you are able to have a mature conversation around sexuality and desires and needs of your partners. And so in doing so, it's going to make a sexual experience feel a whole lot safer for all involved. It's going to make things feel a lot more comfortable. And when getting consent in an ongoing way throughout long-term relationships, it's really going to build a lot of trust and intimacy. So what is consent? We live in a culture that unfortunately does not prioritize and offer good comprehensive sex education. And so because of this, we are left with really the understanding of consent being kind of analogous to a stoplight like driving. And so we recognize in this common understanding that red would be no, right? And people saying stop, don't do that. We then assume that yellow, this slow down, would be, I'm not really sure, we should wait, let's take it slow. And this common understanding would then also mean that everything else is green, green light go. So this would be people saying yes. This would be individuals who are not saying anything and maybe laying still and motionless. This might be somebody who's so intoxicated they're unable to communicate consent. This might even include the misunderstanding that two or more individuals go out for an evening, one person pays for a meal, and then it's expected in return that the other person will then participate in and engage in some sexual behavior and sexual experience, kind of as a bartering system or in return. Instead, here's what sexual consent really looks like using this stoplight analogy. The only green is a true verbal, explicit, enthusiastic, and sober yes. There is no yellow. That anything that we might actually think of as yellow is in fact definitively a no, and it's a red. So things that would sound like this are in fact not giving consent. I'm not sure. We should slow down. I'm not ready. I don't know. I'm scared. I've had too much to drink. And each and every one of these statements are in fact true no's. So in the real world with consent, right, when we get educated, we understand there is no gray area. There's not three options. There's only two options with consent. That is a true verbal yes and or everything else is a no. And by the way, no by itself is a complete sentence with a period. It doesn't need any explanation or justification. It doesn't mean let's negotiate, try to convince me or talk me into something. No is just that. It means no and stop. So what makes up consent? I'm going to go over 6 different pieces, and maybe you have seen acronyms or flyers in our community. Maybe you've seen things previously when we were on campus. And so I'm going to cover 6 different pieces, and hopefully at the end of this, you have a much better understanding of what makes up consent. So first and foremost, it has to be verbal. There's a law in California, among other states, where saying nothing does not equal consent. That affirmative consent means it's vocally and verbally given. Now, wait, what? We have to talk during sex? I know, that makes some people feel really awkward and really uncomfortable. Again, in a country that doesn't give good education, we oftentimes don't even have language and words to talk about the behaviors we want to participate in. But here's the truth. If you think the verbal part is the awkward part, and yet we are willing to get completely naked, go body to body, skin to skin, swap saliva and sweat and skin cells and other things, and yet we feel like the talking is the hard part, we probably have our priorities a little bit mixed up. So consent, first and foremost, is verbal. It's enthusiastic. We should hear this sort of exclamation point kinds of statements, and it must be verbal. Consent also should be very clear and specific and concise. I would love if in consent we are using questions such as, can I blank your blank? Can I do this behavior to this body part? And we are talking about what body parts we want to do what with. So again, this requires that we communicate, and I understand how awkward this can be, and practice makes perfect. So I want people asking very specific questions about what behaviors they want permission to participate in. So can I kiss those sweet lips? Can you put on protection first? Do you want to do it from the back? Can I go down on you? Can I help you out of that? How do you like that? Are you all right? Do you want me to keep going? Right? So these very clear, very specific types of statements about body parts and behaviors. The next part is that consent is ongoing. And I think that this is the one that gets missed most often. Now, our sort of example in pornography really leads us astray. It really sets us up for failure. So in a pornified culture, we typically see these scenarios or these scripts, which we call sexual scripts, where a scene will start with one behavior and then just kind of unfold and roll into another behavior that typically ends with male ejaculation. I want you to think of sexual consent less about just getting it once and then being able to do any behavior you like, but instead think of it like a process. For my student athletes in the room who are swimmers, think of it like swimming. right? When we do swimming, we don't just jump into the pool, hold our breath once, get wet, and then get out. And no pun intended with the wetness. Instead, right, when we do swimming, we get in, we move around, we move our arms, we move our legs, we hold our breath multiple times, right? It's this ongoing sort of state of affairs. The same is true with consent. We don't just get it once. Instead, we keep checking in. We keep asking. We don't get to just start with kissy, kissy, rubby, rubby, and then all of a sudden move around to grindy, grindy, thrusty, thrusty, pokey, pokey, right? We have to check in and continuously ask every step of the way with every new behavior. Are you okay with this? Do you want me to keep going? What would you like to do next? Can I blank your blank? The other cool thing with this piece is that consent is totally reversible. You get to change your mind at any point. You get to maybe say yes and then be participating in the behavior and all of a sudden change your mind. Consent can be withdrawn at any point. And in fact, having participated in a behavior at one point in time with a person doesn't mean you have unlimited lifetime access to that behavior. So we continuously get consent and we can change our mind at any point. The next point is that consent must be given in a free way, free willing and mutual. So sex and consent should never be expected, right? Consent should never be something that we feel forced to give. Sex should never be threatened, or we should never feel intimidated. We should never feel coerced. You should never feel like you have to give consent and or sex to keep a relationship together, right? It should never be assumed that because we went out to dinner together or on a date or there was flirting all night long, that a behavior is expected to follow. So one should be freely at their will and on their terms be able to give consent. Now, with this, think about power dynamics. Think about where in our social structure we have people in powerful positions, right? Where are these hierarchies kind of built in to our social structure? And consider an employment setting where boss and employee, and I think that, there's many reasons we wouldn't want this to be the case, but they're engaged in a relationship. Think about a boss who is in charge and in the power position, and then employee. How employee in a relationship then may feel like they need to give consent to get a raise, to get a promotion, to get more shifts. Think about other power dynamics, such as the military and trying to gain rank in the military, and the risk one might take by speaking up if there's been an assault. Think about Hollywood and an actor, actress's desire for a role or screen time. Think about coach to athlete. Think about an athlete's desire to get playing time on the field or make a position. Think about gender and what we do with gender, where we tend to have males where we give space and place for them to be the sexual beings. And in fact, we hypersexualize. And females and female presenting people, we instead say your sexual pleasure is purely for pleasing other people. Right? Think about how that could really influence consent. The next part here is being informed. You have the right to be informed about your partners before you agree to any sexual behaviors. And that is being informed about previous partners, about STI testing, about possible contraception use, right? You should be able to talk about these things, agree to contraception if that's important to you, and then be sure that whatever's agreed to is going to be used in the sexual experience. So you should be able to make an informed decision before you have any type of sexual interactions. And the last part is being sober and aware. And I want to say just a few extra words about this. We live in a culture where we shame sex extensively. We place a lot of guilt and shame. And what substances do is they take away our worry, right? They stop our brain from firing such that we don't worry about how we perform. We don't worry about what we're doing or who we're doing it with. But in return, that really blurs the boundaries with consent, such that people then are so much less able to think clearly, make decisions clearly. We tend to get individuals who become more aggressive and more pressuring. Individuals are less able to communicate their boundaries, and those boundaries become less readable. So while I understand the use of substances, having sex while under the influence makes communication and consent so much more difficult. And so being sober and aware is an important part of consent. And in fact, by California law, a person cannot give consent when they're under 18, too intoxicated, or when a person is asleep or unconscious. And if there's ever any doubt, I say, talk to your partner, say, let's sleep it off and plan for this at a later date. So in the end, you all, a bum squeeze, a boob fondle, grinding, quick groping, penetration, or a crotch grab, any of these behaviors without consent is a crime. In a quick wrap up there, that is consent. I hope you were able to learn a little bit about this topic. My name again is Stephanie Cody. Take care, be well, stay healthy.
1 in 3 women in the military are sexually assaulted. Rise up.
Stop exploiting migrant workers for underrated work. Rise up.
The sex trafficking industry makes $99 billion a year from people like you and me.
For every 1 African American woman who reports rape, 15 won't report. Women stand up, women stand out.
Gentlemen, I am excited to welcome everyone to Rise Up 2021, and it is my honor to introduce Ruthie Bowden. She is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, a WNBA All-Star, a former Sacramento Monarch, and was inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. On top of all these accomplishments, Ruthie also is a loving mother. She served as a first lieutenant in the United States Army and is a lifelong advocate for women. Please give a virtual round of applause for Miss Ruthie Bowden.
Thank you so much. How y'all doing? Oh, I'm so excited about the opportunity. Thank you, Stephen. You're a pro. He's had a lot of patience with me. Thank you so much. Man, what an amazing platform this is. I'm so thankful. As you see, I have on my Be Bold, Be Mighty, Be You shirt, that's how you rise up. You rise up by being bold, being mighty, being the best version of you. And I'm so thankful to share this space with you all, and all the amazing information that's been shared is beautiful. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of your team, be a part of this opportunity to share to the students. I'm very thankful, and I would be remiss if I didn't, thank my friend Gordon for allowing me, for seeing the vision. He knows me. I love being able to impact. I love being able to make a difference. And so I'm very thankful. And the thing is that, I want to just, I know the accolades and all the basketball stuff, but really the moment, what I want students to hear and to get from me today is how you can take your power back and how you could be the best version of yourself and being bold, being mighty, being you as you rise up. And unfortunately, as a little girl from a family of 20, I'm the 16th of 20 children, 12 girls and 8 boys. And as a little girl, I wasn't sitting around thinking about I one day will be an advocate or I'll be a spokesperson for domestic violence. Whoever dreamed that that's something you look forward to. But in the midst of my basketball, having the opportunity to travel the world, play in 2 Olympics, 2 World Championships, to play for the Olympics, the platform, the basketball has been great. I've traveled and I've played, to 30 different countries, and I've had the opportunity to play professional basketball 15 years. And those things were great. And I had a struggle with those to get there. But who would have ever imagined that, that part of my story would become how I was able to overcome domestic violence, how I was able to overcome the things that, that I didn't have my power. I had gold medals and it felt like I was strong enough. And so I really, when I get opportunities like this, I want, the young ladies to know that listening that, that there's something inside of you that's greater than anything you will ever go through, and that you can rise up and that you can rise above that, whatever your things you're going through. And I just have to give you a brief little, I got a light here, brief little a story about, I being, 15 years professionally, playing in the Olympics, I thought I was strong and I was mighty. I felt like this was my purpose. And really, no one knew what was going on. And I'm sorry, I'm getting some light. No one knew what was going on in my life. I went through 10 years of domestic violence in my marriage. And the more people told me to leave, the more I wanted to stay. The more people told me to leave, the more I wanted to stay, because I wasn't used to quitting. I wasn't used to giving up. There were times where in my career, people told me I wasn't good enough. So I had to fight. I wanted to play for the national team. I had to pay for my own way to my trial. You know, I didn't get a scholarship to college. I had to ride a bus. So all the different challenges I had in my basketball life. So when they were trying to share with me that, you know what, this is a bad marriage, you need to leave. I'm like, me quit? That's not me to quit. I don't know how to leave. I don't know how to walk away. When I would go to therapy and go to, counseling, I was not paying a counselor $150 an hour, $200 an hour to tell me to leave my husband. I'm paying you to tell me how to fix it. And so that's what many people didn't know about what I went through. And I only started talking about it 3 or 4 years ago, about the domestic violence that I went through the peak of my career. And it was a lot of pain. It was a lot of pain. But the most important thing is how I was able to turn my pain to power. My 10 years of going through that, I felt like I was the only one going through it. I felt like I could do it by myself. And I thought I was healed. But not until 3-4 years ago, when I first started sharing about it, is when I started to really get my strength, when I started to get my wings and fly. So my message in here about rising up is about how you can turn your pain to power. I wrote a book about 3 years ago, how I'm able to turn my pain to power. And there is pain. And I will ask the question, how many of you have experienced pain? And I know there's a lot of hands that's going to go up, but how do you turn your pain to power? And how do you learn how to find purpose in your pain? I know that sounds sort of weird, but when you go through something, finding purpose, like, you know what, let there be a landing zone for your pain. And what has helped me is knowing what my why is. And I know without a doubt, my career and the things I've done, that I know that it wasn't just me. I know there was a higher power bigger than me that allowed me to play basketball, allowed me to travel the world when no one believed in me, when coaches didn't believe in me. So that same fortitude, that same fire inside of me as a basketball player has helped me endure domestic violence. And when I started sharing, I wish I was able to show a 4-minute video. The ESPN did a mighty video, a document 30 for 30. And they was going to do it for 30 minutes, but because my family's so big and there was so much content, they ended up doing a 60 for 60. So it ended up being an hour. And it's about 3.5 years ago. And it talked about mighty Ruthie. How do you endure? How do you go through 15 years of professional basketball and endure 7% of those years you went through domestic violence? It was my faith. It was my mindset that there was something bigger, that I knew I would rise up, that I would rise above that. And I know to you out there, to the students listening, I want you to know that what helped me in my time, I was part of something. I was part of a basketball team. You play sports, you write, you draw, whatever it is that you're going to go through, don't try to do it alone. And I really didn't realize how unhealed I was. I didn't realize how unhealed I was until I started sharing my story. And I know it may be tough for you, but please don't go through this alone, because to the world, you might be one person, but to one person, you could be the world. This is an opportunity. This is a space for you to take your power back. And that's what I learned how to do 3 or 4 years ago, is to take my power back, is to say, you know what, I can rise above this. And that my situation don't have to be my destination. And I think about often that when I was going through this, I felt like at times it was my destination. I felt like I was the only one going through it. But as I started to share my story, the last 3 or 4 years, I've gone to women prisons, and it's incredibly 93% of women in prison from domestic violence, from some form of abuse that they had got to a point where they couldn't control their emotions anymore. They got to a point where they had to do something about it. And it's unfortunate that 94% of women in prison from domestic violence, that they took matters in their own hand. And and when I was in there sharing with the women there, they said, I'm serving his time. I'm serving his time, because I wasn't supposed to be here. I wish I had the courage to walk away like you walked away. But you know what? In that space with these women, even though some of them got life, some of them may get out in 20 years, they felt free for a change. They felt like the fact that I was able to share my story, they said, you know what? Even though I'm here, I feel like you've given me strength. No one would ever thought someone like you, an Olympian, a Hall of Famer, would go through what you went through. but you've given me permission to rise above. You've given me permission to be the best version of myself in here. And so as I share with you, I give every woman, every young lady permission to be the best version of you. I give you permission to be imperfect. I give you permission to fall down, but to get back up and say, you know what? It doesn't matter what's happened behind me. This is the day I start taking my power back, getting my voice back. You know, there are times, and after I won my gold medal in 2000, I stood in front of the trash can. I wanted to put my medals in the trash. I felt like I didn't deserve them. You know, I had a failed marriage. You know, what did I do to deserve what I went through? And I was feeling sorry for myself. But I was reminded that my situation don't have to be my destination, that I am mighty, that I'm mighty inside, and that I don't have to look like what I've been through. And so that has given me this power, from pain to power, to go and travel and share with young women about learning how to process what you're going through. And when I say that, I don't want you to think that you're not going to mourn, you're not going to go through, you're not going to have challenges, you're not going to have those tough times. But I want you to know that this is your opportunity. You deserve more. You deserve better. Your fingerprints, there's no one in the world got your fingerprints. No one in the world got your fingerprints. So all that anyone could ever ask is that you be the best version of you. So no matter what your past looked like, no matter what circumstances look like, you have the ability inside of you. It's to learn what your I am is. 11 of my 11 sisters, we're actually writing a book saying, what is your I am? There's no one should keep you from being your I am. My I am is almighty. One of my sister I am is that I'm resilient. My I am is that I'm an overcomer, that I'm courageous. What is your I am? This is your time. This is your journey to make your I am what it should be. And that every day you look in the mirror, and after you get done looking with how beautiful you are, look deep on the inside. Say, you know what? I deserve to be the best. I deserve the best version of myself. And whatever that is, spreading your wings. And I know sometimes I'll share with a lot of women that, I feel like I've made this mistake, or I feel like, you know, this has happened in my life and I feel like I can't move on. But I'm giving you permission that you can rewrite your story at any moment in your life. You can rewrite your story. It starts with your mindset and you loving you. So if you're out there, you love on you, say, I'm going to love me in spite of the circumstance, in spite of what I've gone through. I'm going to love who I am. I'm going to learn how to turn my pain to power. And you would think that my gold medals define me, my Hall of Fame trophy define me, you know, my military experience define me. What defines me? And when I can look in the mirror, and trust me, I might not always like my hair like today, but I do when I look on the inside of me. When I look on the inside of me, who am I really? What is my I am? My I am is that I'm mighty. My I am is that I'm bold, that I'm gonna be the best version of me. And I know in this last year, we all know that this has been a crazy year. That's why we're doing this. But still, I might be delayed, but I'm not going to be denied. If you tell yourself that this is the worst year you ever had in 2020 and that it's going to be a bad year in 2021, it probably will be. But you tell yourself from this day forward, it doesn't matter whatever it is, I'm going to rise up because there is something greater for me. I'm going to rise above because I am mighty. And also I want to mention too that creating a community, you got to find somebody you can trust that you can share with. And in the meantime, journal. I have about 20 books that I've journaled in the last 15, 20 years that when I went through my toughest time, I started to write. And I started to write down my feelings, my emotions, and my frustration and my disappointment, but also my joys and things that make me smile, things that make me feel like I'm worthy. So if you're going through something or your friend, don't spend time talking about the negative, the abusers, or to find something in them. Say, you know what? You remember you used to dance, you remember you used to sing, because they've lost who they really are. So if you have a friend that's someone that's going through what they're going through, I want you to know that you can encourage them by saying, you know what, reminding them of their greatness, reminding them of something they've done before. And what was my safe haven was basketball. And I think that's why I played so hard in basketball, because that was a place that I could control. As a guard, I would have 35, 40 points from game. As a guard, I would have 15 rebounds. Matter of fact, I would take rebounds from my teammates. That's because I want validation. I want my teammates to edify me. And they said, Ruthie, you got this. You don't know how good that felt for my teammates to encourage me them not knowing at the time that at home I was so unhappy. But I'm so glad at this day, 2021, that I'm spreading my wings even more, and that I'm pushing this be bold, be mighty, be you, the best version of you, my sweatshirt. And it's lines the same thing with rise up. And I appreciate you all on here, these strong women, and also Steve, and you bold to be here with these women. But I appreciate this team of everybody aligned. I don't know you, I haven't met y'all, but we are aligned, and that we're trying to create a space for these young ladies, and maybe men too. I apologize, I'm just saying ladies, for everyone out there to be the best version of themselves and to rise up and not to get lost in circumstances. And that no matter how tough it gets, allow it for you to rise up, and it starts here. It starts in your mindset. And it's something that my dad would say in life. If you take a life with you just a few principles, you don't have to carry a suitcase full of rules. And those principles are your faith, something bigger than you, your attitude, which is your mindset, and your work ethic, which is your character and the choices you make. So I'm just here to give you permission to rise above, to rise up, to keep your mighty power, to aim high, all of that good stuff, because this is the day that you start being the best version of you. And whatever's happened in the past, you can't undo that. But you can start today by changing what the outcome can be. And this is a quote that I love too. I read, it said, when you write your story, don't let anyone hold the pen. When you write your story, this is your story. Whether it's good or bad, it's ugly. When you write your story, you write your story. And when you look in the mirror, you look at yourself and say, you know what, this is me. I may need to work on this, I need to work on that, but that's you. Find your I am, find your why. Find the best version of you, because that's the most important thing, is that you find the best version of you, because to the world, you might be one person, but to one person, you just might be the world. And as you rise above, as you rise up, you can turn your pain to power by loving who you are and by flexing your muscles. I put on my sweatshirt not to show the gun, but I love the flex. I want everyone to flex for a minute. It feels great. Everybody flex. Y'all look, I hope y'all getting a picture of this. Flex, y'all look great. Flex to be the best version of you. So thank you. I know we're gonna have a Q&A, but thank you so much for allowing me to share this space with you. And one more thing I wanna say to everyone that's out there, even the staff, I want you to know that you are so beautiful to me. You are so beautiful to me. You're everything that I hope for. You're everything that I need. I want every one of you to know you are so wonderful to me. Blessings to you. Raise the roof.
That was powerful. That was powerful. I just can't tell you how grateful we are just to have you on here. And I know there's going to be questions coming in, but I think I'm gonna throw out the first question here, Ruthie. Okay. And the question that I have is that I know there's individuals on this webinar, individuals on our campus that know of people that are going through a painful situation similar to yours. How can they be supportive of that person that's going through a painful situation?
I think as a friend, just be there for them, listen. And sometimes you might not even you might not know what to say, but just be a sounding board. And what I would say from experience, if you got someone that's going through, please do not focus on the abuser, because if they're in a relationship with someone, for example, I'm telling you, the more you beat up on that person, the more they cling to them. When I went through what I went through, some of my sisters would call me. As soon as they started talking about how bad my husband was, I didn't want to talk to him. But one of my sisters would call me and say, you know what? I know you're going through something tough. I love you. I'm a phone call away. That's all she would say. And that's the one I want to talk to the most. So I just encourage them to just encourage them, remind them of something that they do great, whether singing or writing, or just totally let them know you're there. They already feel bad enough what they're going through, and they feel like their decision was horrible. They lose part of them. So don't put them in a situation where they feel even less of themselves. You be there for them. Say, I'm here for you any time of the day. You can call me. I'm here for you. I love you. And just let them know you're there. And I know it's hard sometimes. You can see like you want to just, you want to sort of make decisions for them, but you have to allow them to make their decision. Just be a resource.
Thank you. Also, you talked about sharing your story. You talking about sharing your story and how that helped you overcome
Mm-hmm.
your pain. What strategies would you suggest to those that are listening in regards to how to share their story and how to get their story out
You
there?
know, my book From Pain to Power is about, you just got to start somewhere. Like I think you got to start somewhere writing. Like, and if you write, and even if you write something and throw it away, you got to start off, because you keep it inside, it is really unhealthy. So if you don't feel comfortable sharing it with people yet, write about it. If you don't feel comfortable share, write. And then once you get comfortable sharing it with someone, you want to open up to them, because it's tough to go through this by yourself. You know, in college, my tutor would help me. I told my tutor before I told any of my family members. I remember her and I became good friends, and one day she was tutoring me in a science class, and I just broke down and said, she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I'm a horrible wife. I can't, my husband not happy." And I started sharing things with her, and she was just there for me. She gave me the space to be imperfect, but she was there for me. So as in the last 4 years, when I started writing my story, it would be all these different things was falling off, this shame, this guilt. I started to be free. And so I would just say start writing it. But if you can find someone you can share it with, and I'm sure there's 1-800 numbers you can call. I know for domestic violence, there's numbers you can call that you never have to tell them who you are, and you can just share with what's going on with you. And domestic violence, the national hotline, they get about 4,000 calls a day. Those are just the ones that call. And I know you all get access to that number. I have it too if someone needs it, but call somebody because you don't need to go through this by yourself.
I got a two-part question from our audience. The question is how do you choose a new partner after having been through domestic violence? And then to follow up on that, how do you trust your own judgment?
How do you choose a new partner, and what's the second one?
And the second one is how do you trust your own judgment?
How do you trust your own judgment? You know, I tell you, that's a very good question, because you have to take your time. As part of the pain to power, there's another 5 P's, your pain. And one of those P's is that it's a process you go through. You got to sort of trust the process, and you got to take your time, and you have to really find you. And writing helps. There's no way around that. Writing is so therapeutic. I would not have gotten through what I got through without writing down and what I went through. And it's going to be tough to trust. You might find one person can trust faster than the other one. So you have to really get to know yourself. But the one thing about, you have to learn how to trust again. But it may take you a while, but trust that time. If it takes you a year, 2 years, it's okay. Don't try to put a triangle in a square. Take your time in that trust. But what you want to do is that you're still powerful. You are still mighty. You know, I was an Olympian, and I allowed this to happen to me. So, but I knew I had to find me again. So I know what you might be going through, but trust me, you know, God designed us the way he did. And what makes it so unique is that we all have our own set of fingerprints. So you have an opportunity to rewrite your story. And trust me, you are valuable, you are mighty, and somebody one day gonna value you for who you are. And so trust who you are, find you again, find your I am, because you got it. Find your mightiness back because it's in you. But just trust the process.
And I got another question from the audience. How do you find the courage to speak up about your experiences?
How do you find the courage to speak up?
Yep. How do you find the courage to speak up about your experiences?
Yeah, it took me a long time. I shared it with my friends, but you got to sort of this is what I look at. This is what helped me to transition a little bit. You get to a point where you don't value you because you do lose part of you. But I had to move back and take myself out of the situation and put my niece, who I love more than me. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, but I had a favorite niece, and I sat her in the same chair that I was in. And I said, what if they were talking to her this way? What if he was treating her this way? And I was like, oh my God. That's when I realized that that did not look right. That didn't feel right. So that's what made me realize that I got to make a move. No one deserved to go through what I went through. So sometimes you can't see because you're looking at yourself and you lose your value in your work, but move yourself out and put someone there that you really love more than yourself at that time. And that's going to give you a whole different set of lens to look through. Like, wow, it looks so different now. So I would say if you're battling with, do you deserve it? I mean, do you deserve better? Remove yourself for a moment and put someone there that you love and that you adore and see if it looks the same.
And Ruthie, I'm just going to give you one more question here. How did you get the power to overcome the love that you thought was right?
Oh man, how did I get the power to overcome the love? You know what? My husband was my first, and I visioned us being married for a lifetime, having kids. I thought about what our kids would look like, and when that didn't happen, I felt like a failure. I felt just like, oh my goodness, and I was just like, man. And I want to do. I was so bad at one time. I felt like I would lose my life in this marriage. But I said, Lord, I'm not leaving. I'm not a quitter. I don't know how to quit. I don't know how to walk away. I'm going to stay here. And there are times where I thought I would lose my own life because I want to make it right. But I want you to know your peace and your joy, your peace of mind, your soul is so important. And I'm telling you, love and admiration is not really that hard. It's not like trying to put a triangle square. And I'm not saying some bad times, but if someone is consistently mistreating you and not valuing you, really there's someone, you got to find that drive to move forward. You got to, because you know what, you're in a situation where the toxic, it only get worse. And I know you try to hold on. I've been there. I know you're trying to hold on, because as women, we want to make it right. We want to fix it. But people teach you how to treat them. People teach you how you want to be treated. When my ex-husband, we had been married 3 months, and the first time he hit me, when I didn't do anything about it, I told him, "Oh, it's okay for you to hit me. It's okay when you get, mad. You can hit me and threaten me. It's okay because I didn't do anything about it." I would teach him, training him how to treat me. So you got to train that person on how to treat you. You got to know your worth and your value. And I know that's sort of a very thin. It's like you sort of don't know at times, but I'm here to remind. I don't even know whoever asked me the question, but I'm here. I want you to go look in the mirror and look at yourself and say, you know what? I was created. I have my own set of fingerprints. I'm mighty, and that I deserve better. And I'm not even saying, I don't know the details of your situation, but maybe sometime take some space, take some time. My counselor was telling me to just separate for a while, but at the time I said, I'm not paying you to tell me to leave him, but separation might be good. I like it from someone you think you really love. But the bottom line is that if someone is physical with you and they're consistently 75% of the time abusive, I really, really pray that you're surrounded by someone that can help you. And I would encourage you to call someone that deal with this every day. The National Hotline of Domestic Violence, or someone that this is what they do every day and they hear the stories over and over. But I want you to find value in you. I want you to know you are mighty, you are special, that you look and you take yourself out this chair and you put someone else there. What would you tell your little niece? What would you tell your daughter that was going through? What would you tell someone you love? What advice would you give them? If your exact life, what you're going through, that they're dealing with, what would you tell them?
Ruthie, I just want to, on behalf of Sierra College, just want to say thank you so much. It was just powerful just to hear you speak, to talk about your story. And we're just excited that you took the time to be able to come here and just share your story with our audience. I know Israel's going to be looking for your book, and they want to know where it is, and want to be able to probably have contact with you in the future. We just want to say thank you.
Go through Gordon, we get Pain the Power. And hey, and by the way, where's my red shirt at? My Rise Up shirt.
Oh, we're going to get that to you. We're going to get that to you. It's coming. We got the shirt ready.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I raise my arms to the sky on my